Blaney. Gary Vidal, 6 minutes to start. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to just take a moment quickly to thank all of the ministers and your officials for taking time to be at our committee tonight. We know you're very busy people in this time, and we do appreciate your time. I want to address a few questions to Minister Miller, of course, to begin with. And Minister, I want to talk about the boil advisory issue for a few minutes. I think you're well aware that I would acknowledge that this is a long-standing issue, and it's not necessarily a partisan issue. All Canadians agree that this is unacceptable and we need to find solutions. But Canadians are also frustrated when they keep hearing about how the relationship with Indigenous people is the most important relationship to the Prime Minister and your government. But at the same time, targets are being walked back and goals are not being met. It appears to me that we're witnessing a crisis management approach from your department on this issue, and I think that's frustrating for Canadians. What we need is a truly proactive and collaborative strategy. So my question is actually quite simple. What are the steps that you as the minister are taking to bring a more proactive strategy to end this issue for Indigenous Canadians?
Well, thank you, MP Vidal, for that critical question, which indeed is key for all Canadians and Indigenous peoples living in Canada. It is no surprise to anyone, in particular the issue I mentioned in the Scandiga, which has been an entirely unacceptable situation for 25 years, that this is the result of massive undercapitalization in specifically Indigenous communities, specifically with respect to resources that in most communities in Canada we all take for granted, and indeed if those were removed from us, we would be crying bloody murder. It is unacceptable that Indigenous communities have been in this situation, yet that has been the case. We must acknowledge it as a country. There is the shame lies in not doing anything about it. From the very get-go, and as you trace the arc of the commitment that was made by the Prime Minister as early as the prior election, we realized quite early that commitment needed to be doubled in terms of the numbers of long-term water advisories that we were covering. This posed obviously a logistical problem. It's something that we invested additional sums in. We've put billions of dollars into that commitment, and my officials, and it's too bad I don't have the water team here, have been working relentlessly to address this in a systematic fashion. Now, every community, and being former mayor of Meadow Lake, you would appreciate the challenges with water and water infrastructure and wastewater. These are complex issues. Some we have been able to resolve quickly, and indeed, over the course of our commitment, we've lifted 90 long-term water advisories and prevented a far greater number of short-term water advisories from becoming long-term water advisories. It's important to realize that. Now, you take the unacceptable.
Can I interject on that right there, if you don't mind? When you talk about lifting the 90 long-term drinking water advisories, when I look at the information on the website where you provide that information, you like to talk a lot, lots of times, sorry, I don't mean that derogatory, but you talk about lifting the 90 long-term drinking water advisories, but the number of advisories has not been reduced by that many. So that if you do the math, and so as an accountant for 30 years, there's over 50 that have been added or have been re-added, or out of the additions, can you tell me how many of the ones that have been added are ones that are advertised as the ones that have been lifted and then now are back on? Because the overall number has not decreased by 90, in all due respect.
Well, quite clearly on this, MP Vidal, some that were short and have become long are actually less problematic in terms of lifting. There are some ones with longer builds, that the case at hand being the Scandiga, that have taken some time and are quite complex. So I would put to you, without generalizing, because it's very important not to generalize, that the ones that have been added to the number, and at some point we should take some time to walk through this, and perhaps the time allotted is not enough. But those ones are ones that we are cautiously optimistic will be lifted in relatively short order. Now, and you talked about the website, about it being not updated. Clearly, there have been some challenges as communities have locked down, rightly so, to protect their people, and infrastructure challenges in getting things built. We have been able to do so, and the long-term lifts are testament to that. But there have been challenges. So we expect to be updating that page shortly to reflect a more detailed information as to where the challenges lie, where the numbers lie as well. But COVID has placed a challenge on the ability for contractors to get into communities and to do all the things we need in order for communities to lift long-term water advisories. And let me stress, it is communities.
Minister, I don't want to be rude, but I do want to get one more question, and if you can, and my time is running short.
No, please. I want to talk about this, but I do respect the fact it's your time, Gary.
Sorry.
For a minute. Go ahead.
We live in a world where technology and advancements are happening all the time, and you know, I guess just one last quick question around the approach the department's taking to solving the boil water advisory issue in First Nations communities or Indigenous communities. Can you identify any kind of new technology, any kind of investigations that are being done in new approaches? I mean, in my time as Sask Water Chair, there was all kinds of new technology happening all the time. Could you identify any specific things in that manner that your department's doing to advance this cause?
Very quickly, Minister, sorry.
Well, we always work with communities to work with any solutions that we work in partnership with them for their needs in their communities. Now, some of these plants are state of the art and reflect the highest technology that is available. Obviously, that requires training and a long-term commitment. This, I think, I was getting to the end of in my point, is that we need to be with Indigenous communities for the long run, and that's what we will be. It goes way past any deadline in spring 2021, but for a much longer time to come. And communities, as a matter of trust, are asking us to do that, and we will be there for them. Hence the statement in the speech from the throne from the Governor General.
Thank you.